How's it going, everybody? I'm meteorologist Joey Cragness back with your daily forecast. Today, we will be recapping some of yesterday's storms in New Mexico and Arizona. Had some decent storms, I believe. Los Lunas got some golf ball sized hail in the area, so that was some good hail out there. And then we'll be keeping an eye on some more storms that could pop up towards the end of this week, this time in the Central Plains. So we'll be looking at some potentially larger cities that could be impacted towards the end of this week and going into the weekend. And then, of course, we'll be updating you on the tropics. We got Hurricane Humberto and Tropical Storm Imelda spinning away just off the East Coast. Should look like they're going to be just continue to be fish storms, stay out in the ocean, not really impacting land too much, but we'll look at that here in a little bit. Before we get into the weather, though, Road to RoofCon, we have a storm restoration masterclass Monday, October 6th in Oklahoma City. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and go to this website, roofcon.com, 2025-Oklahoma. Our CEO, Derek Klein, will be out there giving a talk. So go ahead and check that out. So recapping yesterday's storms, not much going on in the eastern and central portions of the state. The main kind of story was down in the desert Southwest, particularly in New Mexico and Arizona. Had some decent storms in the very southern tip of New Mexico, and then some storms popping up near Albuquerque. Of course, there's that Los Lunas storm, produced some golf balls out there, and then a couple more storms around the White Sands missile range out there, and then north of Phoenix, in between Phoenix and Flagstaff, had some decent hail out there as well. Those storms kind of continued into the early evening hours before quieting down quite a bit, and now we're left with just some kind of remnant showers as we have some high pressure moving into the area for today. So that'll put a damper on some storms out there. And then just off the East Coast, we got Hurricane Humberto right there, and now Tropical Storm Imelda. You can see some of the rain bands feeding into that, and we'll see something pretty interesting happening with these two systems as they interact. We'll talk about that here closer to the end of the forecast. You can see a nice eye there, Category 4 hurricane, tropical storm for Imelda, expecting to get up to Category 1, possibly Category 2 over the next several days, but again, not really impacting the land. Temperatures right now, mid to low 80s for much of the central U.S. Got some cooler temperatures going to be moving in onto the coast of the Pacific Northwest as we get into the middle of this week, and those cooler temperatures should push into the more central portions of the state as we get, or of the country, as we get to the end of this week. Significant hail model showing some light colors in the Great Basin area up into Idaho, parts of Nevada and Utah as well. Not really expecting much with those, but we could see possibly a few quarters scattered around those areas today, but I'm expecting most storms to produce sub-severe hail, if any at all, for today. So not really a big hail day, wind day, or tornado day. One of the rare days in recent memory where we've had no severe risk or no significant severe risk anywhere in the country. So we'll look at kind of what the radar is going to be doing throughout the day today and into tomorrow, if my clicker can work. There we go. So got some scattered showers and isolated thunder showers picking up as we go into the earlier evening hours. Again, that is mainly for portions of Nevada, Idaho, and Utah. Going to be more scattered, possibly a few rumbles of thunder, but a little bit more stratiform, spread out, that long duration, slow rain that we see with these larger scale systems. later on in the year. Not as much instability, not as much fuel for the storms to work with. So they end up being a lot lower end, like what we'll see today, tomorrow, and likely Wednesday as well, as we get closer to the end of the week. So zooming in a little bit closer here, this is a new model, or a different model, the NAM 3K model, showing you a little bit more detail of what these storms are going to be looking like. So you can see they're a lot more scattered. Maybe a few of these stronger updrafts produce severe hail, but likely going to stay sub-severe for most of today. And then you can see Tropical Storm Imelda trying to get some semblance of an eye going, and then Hurricane Humberto is too far off into the Atlantic for this model. It cuts off right at the edge there, kind of splits the hurricane right down in the middle, because this model is mainly only meant for North America, hence the NAM, the North American model. So you'll see those spinning, and now you'll start to see Imelda kind of pull off into further into the Atlantic, and that is because we have Hurricane Humberto out here pulling in air out to the east. So these storms are going to kind of swap a little bit. The weaker storm is going to get pulled into the larger storm, and this is what we call the Fujiwara effect. It's when two spinning bodies interact with each other and kind of rotate around each other. When you have two that are not of equal size, you get the weaker one tending to get pulled more strongly towards the stronger center of rotation. And that's typically because it doesn't have enough fuel to sustain its own spin and kind of hold its own area. So we'll see that, look at that here in a little bit with a different model that can actually see both storms. Flood risk today, like I said, these long duration storms, more stratiform rain, make for higher rainfall amounts because they tend to sit in one area for a longer period of time. So that's the main risk with these storms that we'll be seeing today. Less of a hail, wind, and tornado threat, but again, maybe an isolated severe hail threat for today. Tomorrow, pretty similar area that's going to be impacting with those long duration storms, but really not much else. For Wednesday, you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a tiny little green highlight just to the west of Seattle there, but beyond that, not really much going on for the middle of this week. Don't know why that pin was there, but down in the Pacific, we got a few different areas that we're watching. We got this little area of interest, this one down here, and another one just off the coast of Mexico. That's a little bit more scattered right now, but we will likely see some development over the next couple of days with one of these systems producing a likely hurricane. And now into the Atlantic, you can see Hurricane Gabrielle, or now post-tropical cyclone Gabrielle, continuing to move way off into the northeastern Atlantic up towards Europe. And now Hurricane Humberto and Tropical Storm Imelda. You'll start to see Imelda over the next several hours, next day or so, really start to get pulled in as Humberto moves off to the north, and that airflow splits right in between the two storms, pulling Imelda farther out into the Atlantic. And that's what's really going to save the East Coast from being impacted from Imelda here. There were a few models early on in the development of Imelda that were showing a strong hurricane impacting the Carolinas towards the beginning of this week, but because this system didn't move as fast as those models had initially projected, it's going to allow Humberto to move up north of Imelda, and that will kind of cut off the moisture and pull it out into sea. So had Imelda actually moved as fast as a couple of the models were projecting, we could be dealing with a much different situation, and the Carolinas could be on watch for a major hurricane impact. Luckily, that is not the case. They will likely see some just possibly light flooding rains, maybe some light gusty winds here and there, but really the impacts are going to be fairly minimal. So here's what we got for the paths for these two storms. You can see there's Imelda, the center of Imelda there. Right now, wind gusts at 60 miles per hour. Humberto is at 145 miles an hour, so quite a bit stronger. Pressures at 940 and 988 for Imelda. So because of this much lower pressure, high pressure moves towards low pressure. So that's why the weaker storms tend to get pulled into these stronger storms. And you can see that is the case here. So Humberto is going to move off slightly farther to the north, and Imelda is going to get sucked in behind it, and these storms are going to kind of cross paths, but not at the same time. At this time here, Humberto will be up in this area while Imelda is down here, kind of gonna get wrapped around the other side and likely kind of merge in. So here's what we got for the spaghetti plots for these two storms. And this is the moment, right when Humberto's right around this area, that you'll see Imelda get pulled off to the east there. You see how hard of a right turn that takes? And that is purely because of the effects of Humberto saving the East Coast from any major impacts with this system. These storms will continue off pretty far into the Atlantic, nothing really stopping it. Still got some fairly warm waters out there, low wind shear that should keep these storms relatively intact, though on the weaker side because the northern Atlantic is just slightly cooler than the central and southern Atlantic at this time. So here's what we got for the radar, and this is the moment where Imelda really gets sucked out to sea from the effects of Humberto, right around the Bermuda Islands right there. Now you can see it getting pulled off, and these two will continue off, having relatively minimal impacts, maybe to a few of the Atlantic islands out in the central Atlantic, but really no mainland USA impacts for the foreseeable future. We could have another couple systems develop over the next week or so, but beyond Humberto and Imelda, nothing is really on deck for those storms. So climatology for hurricanes, we're approaching the downfall or the end of the peak of hurricane season. Hurricane season will tail on for quite a bit longer into November, but really mid-October is when things really tend to shut off for the Atlantic. So we still have a little bit of time to go down our name list a little bit more. I believe we are at 9 right now, making it to Imelda, not yesterday, but this weekend. And next on the list is Jerry. So when Jerry comes around, that will be the 10th named storm of the season. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that. Jet stream for this upcoming week. You can see this very high pressure area over much of the central and eastern U.S. That'll shut off storms for quite a while for those areas and bring in those warmer temperatures, slightly higher than average temperatures for this time of year. But you can see this trough, this dip in the jet stream starting to form and push onto the Pacific Northwest coast there as we get towards the end of this week. And then it really takes a dive into the western U.S. And this is what we are watching out for the potential for storms as we get into the end of this week and into the weekend. You'll see that trough push off into the central and north central portions of the country as we get into Saturday morning. So we'll be keeping an eye on if things, if this pattern holds towards the end of the week. We'll be keeping an eye on particularly the Dakotas, Minnesota, and possibly Nebraska and Wisconsin could get in on that, some of that severe weather as well. So storms will be firing right along the edge of this trough here for much of the weekend. And now we have another low pressure system moving into the western U.S. as we get into the beginning of next week. So things look to be getting more active as we get into the end of this week and beginning of next week. This higher than average temperatures expecting to stick around for much of the week until there's those colder temperatures pushing in from the Pacific Northwest. You can follow that trough as it goes into Thursday and Friday as well. We'll see these temperatures really start to change as that low pressure system moves on to the Pacific Northwest coast. As we get into the weekend here, you see those temperatures start to drop off. Thursday and Friday got some fairly cold temperatures in portions of the Rocky Mountains. Things will begin to cool down, become more fall-like for the higher elevation areas in the Rockies, and then possibly get a little bit of a cold front here pushing through the central and southern U.S. for the end of this week and going into the beginning of next week. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Like I said, those higher than average temperatures sticking around, cooler than average for the Pacific Northwest and West Coast. But the precipitation, this is the area to watch out for. The October 4th through the 8th time frame is when we're going to be watching out for storms in the Dakotas, Minnesota, possibly Nebraska, and portions of Wisconsin as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as we get to the end of this week. That's all we have for today, though. If you're interested in learning more about us, go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Or if you're interested in purchasing a plan, go ahead and scan that QR code up above me, or you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. Email us at info@hailtrace.com, or you can check out our website for more maps at hailtrace.com. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Joey Cragness. Thanks for watching.